Thank you, Joe.
Oh, there it is. All right. Hey, guys, I'm an addict. My name's Phil. And first step, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, and our lives had become unmanageable. I think that, they asked me to share on this step because of how many times I relapsed and how many times I was on step one, so how many times I got to work it, and, the step one, it meant to me, different things each time that I went through it. I'm one of the people that was, I don't have just one white key tag. I have a few. So each time I learned a little bit more about myself, about the program, and about what step one meant, and how I could apply that into my life. And as I stay clean, I think more and more, and the more step one meetings I get into, the more I kind of think how does step one apply into my life now? When I came in, it was just about the drugs, the powerlessness, the unmanageability of my life, and I was one of those that that it talks about, where it says, for some of us, the unmanageability was. I can't find it in here, but where it talks about how the unmanaged, some people, you can't tell that their lives are unmanageable, but some people, it's blatantly obvious. I was that blatantly obvious, unmanageable person at the end. The first time I came into the program, it was more of that inward unmanageability, when I learned about the three aspects of the disease of addiction, the mental part, the obsession to use, the not being able to get it out of my head when I started to think about using, and I couldn't stop thinking about using, and it just started to control every aspect of my life, and that's all I could think about all day, every day. And the physical part, the compulsion, once I picked up, couldn't put it back down until somebody had to haul me off in handcuffs, or I had to reach a bottom, a new low, or the probation officer brought me in his office and said, now you got to go to treatment. And the spiritual part is that total self-centeredness, that, it's all about me, no matter who I got to run through, no matter who I got to screw over, no matter how much trouble I got to get into, I'm going to any lengths to use. So that's kind of how it went for me. There's a progression there. It's not like you have to be arrested. Some people don't get arrested. Some people don't go to treatment. Some people, they go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and that's their start, and that's how they go, and that's how it goes for them, and they stay clean from then on. Me, for myself, I had to reach those bottoms, that unmanageability, the sleeping on the trains, the living to use, using to live, alienation from all of my friends, all of my relationships, unemployability, dereliction, until in desperation, and that was really where I was, that desperation, I sought help through each other in Narcotics Anonymous. And thankfully, there were people from the very first time I came into the program, and there were people from the last time I came into the program that were still clean and still doing things and still helping people out. So I think, now how do I apply the first step into my life, the addiction part of it, and how it encompasses everything. It's not just drugs anymore. It's character defects. It's, the vices that I struggle with. It's, anger. It's, laziness. It's, my ego. It's all these things that make me feel good that might cause destruction into my life. And, I could feed into these things, and, some of these things, it makes me feel like I'm back using drugs. You know what I mean? Facebook, sitting on my phone in meetings or something like that, or sitting on Facebook when I got work to do, or looking at things I'm not supposed to at work, because I'm not focused, or I'm supposed to be hanging out with my kid, and I'm doing something else. You know what I mean? I'm smoking a cigarette or vaping or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And then the compulsion sometimes kicks in, and next thing you know, I look and I'm like, it's like 20, 30 minutes went by. You know, and getting into that self-pity that it talks about. You know, and how that self-pity is really, you know, something that'll rob me of the benefits of the program, and it just takes all, you know, that self-pity will take all the positivity out of my life. You know, I get into self-pity, and you know, when I feel like I failed at something, when I feel like I'm hurting somebody else or I'm hurting myself, you know, I get into this mode, and I get down on myself, and I get hard on myself, and you know, one thing that I need to do is I need to get out of myself. I need to, you know, help somebody out. I need to get to a meeting. You know, if I'm feeling bad and I got this self-pity going on, or I'm hurt, I need to stop spending time with other people that are hurt. You know, I need to stop. You know, I spend a lot of time by myself. If I'm hurt and I got some self-pity going on and I got something that ain't right with me, I shouldn't be driving in my car for 30 minutes listening to music, or I should pick up the phone and call somebody, or I should pick up, you know, these speaker tapes that are going on. I should pop one of those in and listen to one of those, or listen to something motivational that'll get my spirit or my, you know, emotional well-being or my mental well-being or something. You know, I could always be doing something to strive to get things under control and get things together for myself. So I try to do that. I try to, you know, keep in contact with other people, you know, talk to somebody if I don't feel like, you know, like I'm where I need to be with a step or with, you know, a certain thing that's going on with my life. I'll call somebody that knows how to do that, you know, because my life can become unmanageable even without drugs being in the mix, with, you know, with all those things that go on with me, all my character defects, and if I don't control those, the shortcoming is like it was when I was using drugs, you know, negative consequences. When I was using drugs, those negative consequences were always, you know, jails, institutions, and death. Now it's, you know, that negative consequence might be, you know, a missed deadline, you know, more self-pity, more feeling bad about myself, a fight in my relationship, a friendship that might, you know, fall off, or someone might unfriend me on Facebook because I might be an asshole about something, you know, and not have any tolerance, the intolerance, those things like that. It all comes back, and it all takes that, you know, that knowledge of, hey man, I'm powerless over people, places, and things. Yeah, sometimes I got to cut those negative people out of my life, you know, and sometimes I got to, you know, keep moving forward and get around more positive people and be around people that'll help me get to where I want to be. But, you know, I can't always control people, so that's why, you know, that's how the first step can apply in my life now. You know, the drugs are just a symptom, and now there's a lot more that goes on with my addiction and my addictive personality that I got to work on. You know, I like that, you know, the surrender part of it was big for me. You know, once I finally surrendered to this program, and if anybody's been through relapses and all that, you know, I really, what I did is I tried to find the best way to use successfully. You know, I tried every different combination of drugs. You know, use one day, don't use for 2 days, and I'll be all right. Or don't use this drug, don't use that drug. You know, and I thought that, you know, and I was on probation when I, you know, for most of all my relapses and coming in and out, you know, from the very first time I got introduced to Narcotics Anonymous up until a couple Januaries ago, and you know, I kind of thought like, man, you know, once I get off probation, if I got my life together, I'll be able to drink successfully. I'll be able to, to not have to go to meetings anymore. I won't have to work these steps. I won't have to do this kind of thing, but that's the second admission. Plenty of times we've told ourselves, hey, yes, I'm powerless over drugs, but once I get my life together, I could handle drugs. That's something that I tried time and time again. And I just talked to somebody, an old using friend that is going through it again, and he was one of those people that I came up with that we started using together, and we were doing our thing, and I got clean, and he just, he gets the car and the job and then gets a DUI, or he gets this and that, and then he goes back to jail, and that was me. And now that I got, 3.5 years clean, I could look and see, man, dude, this happened in our teens, and then it happened in our early 20s, and then it happened in our mid 20s, and you're into your late 20s, and this just keeps going. And for people that have been in this game life longer than me, have seen people do that for many more years and decades, and unfortunately, some of us, they don't make it back when they leave and try to come back. So I try to carry that hope when I talk to people like that, because that was me. I was there, and I could offer a little something, in terms of, hey, there's hope, but you got to surrender. And I became willing, that last time, and sometimes, even now, I got to be willing to do whatever it takes, to go to any length. I've seen people now, and I could tell myself, and I could sometimes I'll have that conversation in my mind, that, hey, I got a job, I got a family now, I got responsibilities, and I've heard people say this in meetings, hey, when I was using, I didn't have these responsibilities. I didn't have this life. I didn't have this job to go to. I didn't have this family to take care of. Now I do, so I would never put them in the situations that I did before. I'll be able to control this using, because, I care about these things that I have, and I never had these things before. And then they go back to drinking, or they go back to, using on the weekends or something like that, and they end up back in prison. They end up, 6 feet under, or they end up, back in a psych ward and in detox. They lost everything. They got a DUI. They don't got a license. And I'll have that conversation sometimes with myself, and I remember those people. So I appreciate, when somebody comes in and they share that insanity, or you hear people say, I had to drink because it was up to me, my marriage, or drinking, or, whatever it is. I'm not confused that, alcohol, drugs are not the answer to any problem that might come up in my life today, and I just have to keep that right up front, and never forget that. I appreciate that we keep we keep working the steps, and that there's hope. Never would I would have thought, 3 years ago that I would be here, talking, sharing a story of hope, or sharing that, I got through, my darkest times, from, being the guy that, was on the downtown, asking people for any change that they had in their pocket, telling the old lie, hey man, I'm hungry, I need something to eat, and I was 135 pounds to being somebody that could tell somebody what to do, I remember, I remember this one guy specifically, I asked him for some change, and he was like, get up, he screamed at me, get an effing job, man. And I was like, oh, it took me back, and it really hurt me, inside. And I was like, man, well, why don't you hire me, man? And I was like, and he was like, he flipped me off, get out of here, man. And just the way that some of these people would look at me, when I was out there doing that thing. And, nowadays people, they'd never think that, man. You know, and I could walk those same streets, you know, with a purpose and something to do. You know, I got a purpose in life. You know, and I want to help people, and I want to keep doing what I got to do to help the next person that might be there, to show them that there's hope in this program. That your dreams can be, you know, realized. You could think of new things. You know, I got a gig that I'm going to go DJ today. I never would have thought I'd be able to do something like that, but I got all these good things in my life. You know, I got, you know, you three sitting there, the best thing that ever happened to me, man. You know, sponsor, my girl, my daughter. You know, it's like Joe, Rodney. You know, all these things that are just like, that are great blessings, man. That it just seems so far off. But once I was able to surrender, you know, understand that there's a mental, there's a physical, there's a spiritual part of this disease, and I got to make sure that I combat all three of those things. And if the spiritual part is the core of the disease, and the solution must be spiritual in nature, I must, you know, get a relationship with a higher power, and I must remember that, you know, social responsibility does not equal recovery. And no matter what I do, I can't pick up no matter what. So I thank you guys for having me up here. And I hope this is a good Speak-A-Thon. Thanks for letting me start it off. Thanks.